All right, guys. Uh, we're live. I actually haven't done this. We do this every year. I'm usually gone at family's house for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So now we're doing it again. I am in Idaho at my parents' house, and then Christmas time we'll probably do this again at my in-laws' house. But anyways, let's talk about the Utah Jazz. Sorry I didn't do the last one. I just did not have time. I was ultra tired and I did not have access or the ability to do it. So anyways, let's just go live and talk about the Jazz and the Warriors. So the Jazz have now lost 3 straight, and I think the first thing that's important to talk about is just that Mike Conley is really important to the Utah Jazz. Mike Conley, there were people on Twitter, different media guys talking about the importance of rebounding. And yes, the Jazz got out-rebounded. The Warriors got a ton of offensive rebounds. I don't know if that's a massive trend going on right now. I know one of the trends for Utah... All right, I think we're back. If this is probably going to be the worst video of the year, so if you are mad, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. Anyways, one thing that, if you haven't listened to it already, go listen to the Bill Simmons, Haralabos Voulgaris podcast, the Bill Simmons podcast. They talked about it, and it's something that I'm going to start watching now just based off of what they say. I really respect what Haralabos says about basketball. But anyways, they talked about how the Jazz are really good at crashing the boards, even with smaller guards. And I actually think Mike Conley's a part of that. So maybe that was somewhat of an element of this loss. By the way, we're like live. I don't know. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm still in Idaho. So when we go back, I'll be back at my element. So we're just going to do a quick live tonight. And so I apologize. But anyways, that's one thing I'm watching. The Jazz rebounding is an interesting issue and something that maybe... something that they kind of attack in the draft in the future. But what's interesting, what they talked about, there was 2 things that were really interesting about that podcast with Bill Simmons and Haralabos. One was what we talked about, the offensive rebounding that the Jazz do. Ironically, it was tonight the offensive rebounding of the Warriors that really killed them. So the Jazz have to figure out how to rebound the ball better. But I think also just missing Mike Conley has been it's been a massive hole for the Jazz. And we all knew it because Mike Conley's been fantastic for the Jazz. And so with him out and those 8 to 10 assists that he gets per game, the elite shooting that he brings, his ability to shoot either off the catch or just pull up and shoot and score that way, the Jazz miss it a lot. They miss his ability to drive and kick. And so they're missing this guy that just creates this cornerstone. And what it does too is it just changes all the things that they're kind of used to. And I love that Will Hardy does all sorts of lineups, but the fact is that Mike Conley was a starter, and Colin Sexton is filling in a role that he's not typically going to have done all season and probably not going to do in the future. That he comes in and he scores the ball as a 6th man. Well, now he's starting point guard. And Colin Sexton is just not on the same level in terms of distribution as Mike Conley is. It's just a fact. Does it mean that Colin Sexton's a bad player? No. But it does mean that Colin Sexton is playing in a role that he doesn't normally play, and it's just tough to overcome. And so maybe with Mike Conley out, they kind of figure that out over time. But I think what we're finding out is it's disconnecting, reconnecting. My parents' internet, not that great. So this might be a short one. What we're finding out is that Mike Conley's really freaking important and that he is the crux of everything they do. So there's an issue with that because Mike Conley's 35 years old? If a 35-year-old point guard with all these younger guys is the crux of everything you do, you probably need to think about going younger and finding that replacement for Mike Conley. Doesn't mean that you have to trade Mike Conley. No, but the higher you are in the draft, the more likely you are to be able to get that guy, And so it's really a tough situation the Jazz are in. In all honesty, I think one thing we've learned this first part of the season is that Will Hardy is the guy. He is an elite head coach. And that's what Haralabos and Bill Simmons said. The Jazz might have like a top 3 coach, if not, it's crazy to say best head coach in the NBA. But they might have a guy that has potential to be that, you know. Local media and Utah Jazz owned media and all these guys, David Locke and all these guys, would say things all the time. And to be honest, it was a little irresponsible to say that Quinn Snyder was the best coach in the league. Like, David Locke would say that all the time. And guess what? It wasn't true. It wasn't true. Quinn Snyder was not that guy. Now, was Quinn Snyder a bad coach? No, he was not. But we watched him get out-coached in the playoffs every year. Every year. So the Jazz now have a legit head coach, one who is able to out-coach other teams. And if he has the talent, he can go toe-to-toe with people. So it's kind of exciting to see. But that's the issue. At a certain point, you go up against a team like the Warriors, who has Steph Curry, MVP caliber season right now. You know, Klay Thompson was playing at his old self again, something he hasn't been doing much of all year. And then you have Draymond Green playing elite level defense. And so they just kind of ran into the Warriors tonight, and the Warriors played really well. They played really well at home. They're incredible. Jordan Poole was hitting shots that he hasn't been hitting all season. So they just caught the Warriors on a, you know, the Warriors were just really good tonight, and they just beat them. You know, if the Jazz had more elite talent, maybe they can win this one, because they did get out-rebounded, and they did kind of get outshot in that first quarter. So there's some decisions the Jazz have to make, but now they've lost 3 in a row. They are now, I can't look. I'm scared to switch away from the screen because of the reconnection issues. But anyways, it's the Jazz find themselves at a crossroads right now, and they have to decide what they want to do. Mike Conley's probably not coming back for another week, you know, so another 2 or 3 games. And they have a game tomorrow, and so they've got to figure things out fast. They lost this one, and they're not going to be, like, more refreshed in the morning now that they've lost to the Warriors and are traveling. So it's a tough situation right now for the Jazz, and you can slide really fast in this league, and it's not necessarily the worst thing, because we know how good Will Hardy is. What happens if you give Will Hardy 2 or 3 elite players that can that you can get other elite role players with, you know? Normally we'd go through all the stats and go through all the other guys. I think one of the big standouts for tonight was just Walker Kessler is looking like a high-level big. At worst, he's a Vika Zubac in this league, and he might be better than that. But he is looking like a great pickup for the Jazz. That Rudy Gobert trade is looking out of this world for Utah, you know? By the way, the Wolves lost tonight to the Hornets, who lost Gordon Hayward. So, I mean, woo! That's pretty good. They're 9-8, I think. And so the more they lose, the better. And depending on how you look at this Jazz season, the more they lose, the better. Or worse, I guess, if you're just looking for straight up wins. I am excited about some of the things I'm seeing from certain players on this team. Lauri Markkanen, obviously, having an all-star caliber season. Jordan Clarkson has had an all-star caliber season as well. Walker Kessler, looking like a player for the future for this team. So it's really exciting to see some of these things happen. But the Jazz are obviously missing kind of a elite level punch from that guard position. I think Jordan Clarkson has been playing outstanding, but Jordan Clarkson is a shoot-first guard. He is a sixth man type, kind of like a Colin Sexton. He has averaged like 5 assists per game, but it's not the same as Mike Conley, who had one game this year where he had 13 assists. It's just not the same. As much as we love Jordan Clarkson, and I love Jordan Clarkson, and he's fantastic, and he's one of the reasons they were even in this game, you just need to get kind of an elite playmaking guy, or at least some other guy in this draft that's just elite. And there's some guys in this draft, guys, holy smokes. Brandon Miller from, I think it's Alabama he's playing for, looks like an awesome prospect. So there's guys in this draft that are going to be there, like top 4, top 5, top 6. We haven't even seen Cam Whitmore. It's pretty exciting stuff. And so there is going to be some guys the Jazz are going to be able to get, but they have to be able to get there. And so right now, Jazz are at a crossroads. You know, they keep losing games, and all of a sudden things get really hairy. You know, and if they have another player go down with injury, because they just lost Mike Conley, which we knew would happen, it's tough to keep someone who's 35 healthy for 82 games, and we're already seeing some of that. And if we have another guy go down for injury, a core piece, you know, if Jordan Clarkson goes down with injury, any one of these core pieces, it just gets really, really difficult. Because what makes the Jazz so much fun, and what makes them such an awesome watch, and and such a great team and fun team to root for is the fact that they play so unselfishly and move the ball and can score. But when you start replacing guys like Mike Conley with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, that's a massive drop-off. And if they lose another guy and you start playing more rookies and less experienced guys, and it's tough. I was a little disappointed Talen Horton-Tucker wasn't as good tonight as he's been. He's been playing really well lately. Tonight, he was just not hitting shots. And so they need him to be a little better if they want to, keep winning. Anyways, that's all, guys. I'm sorry. Normally we do a shout out to the All-Stars, but thank you, All-Stars, for all you do. We have game tomorrow, so I'll probably be doing this again tomorrow. We have had more freaking back-to-backs than I can remember. The season's been ridiculous that way, but we'll be back tomorrow. Guys, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. I will talk to you next time.